Good morning. Thank you to Janice and Elaine for creating the music for this service, and especially that one. I loved the little birds singing to God there. That was lovely. So, this time and this place are hallowed by our presence and our commitment. Welcome. Whoever you are, whomever you love, however you vote, whatever your race, age, class, or gender, whatever spiritual paths you have traveled, if any, you are welcome here. Our faith calls us not to a particular creed, but to a covenant to honor each and every person's worth and dignity. All we ask is that you come with an open mind and an open heart. I'm R.K., and I am a member here at UU, but I'm also the administrator here. And our mission here at the UUTC, at the Unitarian Universalists of Transylvania County, is to promote, this would be easier if I put my glasses on. Oh, wow. To promote social, economic, and environmental justice. To learn more about us and to sign up for our newsletter, visit our website at uutc.org. We are broadcasting the second service because we had some errors in the first one. Our announcements for today: for your good health and safety, please wear masks in the building. Use the clipboards to sign your name and telephone number in case contact tracing becomes necessary. Enjoy the music without singing for the time being, but please hum and clap along as you're willing and able, though I admit that I might have sung quietly behind my mask on the last hymn, last service. Offering baskets won't be passed from hand to hand, but you can drop your contribution and your name tag into the baskets at either side of the sanctuary or in the bowls by the doors on your way out. Tuesdays between 11:30 and 1:30, all are welcome to bring a lunch. All are welcome to join us for the Fellowship on the Green under the Colored Shade sales. Either of these events are good ones for getting acquainted with our members and friends here. This Tuesday evening, special program, join us online or in person for a special presentation in our author series by writer Nicola Koresh at 7 p.m. You can tune in on Facebook or YouTube. Both are available from our website. If you don't know how to get there, you can just go there and click YouTube or Facebook, and you're there. You can tune in on, if you attend in person, do plan to wear a mask like usual, as you were doing this morning. Also, you may have received an email about the Power Up fundraiser. This is where we partner with St. Philip's Church and the Jewish Community Congregation to raise funds for folks who are in need. Sharing House has had a truly epic year in all the wrong ways. It has been the hardest year on record for the ministry at Sharing House. They have exceeded every crisis assistant marker they track. The number of people served, the pounds of food given away, the amount of overdue rent and utility bills paid. So please be generous as you are able in your giving. Our first hymn this morning is number 134, Our World is One World. Please enjoy. Our opening words this morning are from The Creation by Edward O. Wilson, or E.O. Wilson. The modern technoscientific revolution, including the great leap forward of computer-based information technology, has betrayed nature by fostering the belief that the cocoons of urban and suburban material life are sufficient for human fulfillment. That is an especially serious mistake. Human nature is deeper and broader than the artifactual contrivance of an existing culture. The spiritual roots of Homo sapiens extend deep into the natural world through still mostly hidden channels of mental development. We will not reach our full potential without understanding the origin and hence meaning of the aesthetic and religious qualities that make us ineffably human. Now, our chalice lighting for today is a child's chalice lighting of Gratitude for the Earth by Karen G. Johnson. I'm going to go ahead and light the chalice first. What if, when I light the chalice, you hear an invitation to welcome gratitude for the earth? This week, as I got ready to light the chalice, my family talked about blessings from this planet. And here's the list from Laura Negrella Sevilla, who was our worship associate this morning for the first service. And I sent her home so she could work on her graduate degree program stuff. She was thankful for First Nation blessings. She was thankful for medicine herbs and the sun and the stars and the moon and how Orion is so bright in the sky right now. They were thankful for the four winds and for plants and animals and beans and birds and berries. And now, with this flame of hope shedding light in your heart, What is your list? What are you grateful for? Now comes the time in our service when we have the chance to share our joys and sorrows. We believe that joys are magnified and worries reduced and grief eased by sharing them with this beloved community. I invite those who are watching this on Sunday morning to participate by typing any joys or sorrows you would like to share in the comments of the streaming platform you've chosen. I won't see them, but we will include a candle at the end. If there's anyone here who has joy or sorrow that would like to share, our ushers have slips of paper. You can raise your hand. They will bring those to you so you can write down what you would like to have shared. And I'm thankful for Lynn for assisting this morning on the lighting of candles. I light a candle for those whose work allows us to live our lives easier and more safely. Those on our front lines who have been asked again and again to be heroes in healthcare, essential services, and education. May this light bring comfort to those who serve. I light a second candle of gratitude for those who have committed themselves to standing on the side of justice, speaking out and taking action, and advocating for those who have been denied their rights. May this light bring courage to those who speak up. Lynn lights a candle for those whose prayers are lifted up in the chat box by those at home. We hold those in our hearts as well. This light is burning here at UUTC for all these things, even as we cannot be with each other. Has anybody got a paper that I need to know about here? I'm lighting a candle for Richard and Linda Packard, celebrating a whole month of marriage. And my lovely Kay is thankful for the miracle of science and for this community for holding her in prayer. Finally, I light a candle for any care or any hope that you are not yet ready to share. May this light, kindled by all our hearts, be a torch you can carry forward, knowing that we are holding you. Let us hold these lights and prayers in our hearts as we listen to music by Janice Cannon and Elaine Shaver. They are singing Steven Tyler of Aerosmith's Dream On.
Everybody dream, dream on.
Now's when I introduce the speaker. I've been your administrator here since 2015, but before that, I was a teacher of art at a middle school in South Georgia for 19 years. I was a 3-time Teacher of the Year, a co-founder of the Southern Artists League in Lowndes County, Georgia, and a grant writer. Me and my lovely partner Kay have been coaxing a native landscape out of our quarter-acre lot in town since moving here in 2008. It was a yard that was once nearly solid grass and is now almost all habitat, but it looks okay by the street view. I call our back porch my happy place, where I can listen to the birds that I've worked hard to make a home for. John Young, a former Apollo astronaut, said, if you want to see an endangered species, get up and go look in the mirror. Intellectually, we know that the harshness of this statement is because of our difficulty in doing the necessary things that more immediately impact other lesser species before they ultimately impact us. So we try to make the threat to our own species feel more imminent in order to shake us out of our presumed complacency. Why do we have such a hard time with this? I think that we tend to believe it's a matter of hubris, and maybe sometimes it is. But when I think of my own behavior, I know that there's more to it than that. I really understand the problem, and I really don't want things to go south. And yet I can still make daily decisions that impact the rest of life on Earth unfavorably. There are things that I'm doing right and things that UUTC is doing right, partly because you folks hired me to help implement your missional values, and the board has taken numerous steps to keep us on that path. We buy recycled toilet paper. We use unscented organic soaps and cleaning products. We've installed LED lighting in most of the interior of the church and all of the outdoor fixtures to cut down on our energy consumption. We signed up with Arcadia Clean Energy and therefore forced Duke Power to purchase wind credits to offset our use. Our outdoor lighting is low on the Kelvin color temperature scale, and all lighting in the outdoors is set in dark sky compliant fixtures to reduce our impact on insects and other night creatures. But unfortunately, that's the easy, intellectually driven stuff. We could spend more money to improve window efficiency or to install solar panels, but that would still not get to the root of the problem, which is a problem of relationship. And this month we are talking about cultivating relationships. The relationships we have with other life on Earth are the ones we're talking about today. For modern humans, that relationship is really very transactional. Do you really think about the cow when you order the burger? There are times we break through to a real connection, so I'm going to take you on a short memory trip to see if you have something similar lurking in your cell memory. As a rambling kid, I spent hours just poking around looking at stuff. I remember maple trees being tapped in Wisconsin, stealing our neighbors' raspberries, wandering blocks from home to find the pussy willows. I remember running in shorts on the crusty top of frozen snow. And it was refrozen from the previous day's melt. And squealing when it broke and I dropped a leg into the cold stuff up to my shorts. I loved the crisp, clean scent of the fresh snow and the quietness. I remember discovering reindeer moss, and this was in South Georgia, and finding it first all stiff, where if you pressed on it too hard, a piece would break off. But right after rain, if you checked on that same plant, it had absorbed all the rain and was soft and pillow-like. It's like, oh, let me put my sleeping bag here. I watched for snakes and gopher tortoises, really anything that moved, but I most loved watching the birds. And I would wander all over the place, not respecting a single property line, looking for new things until I had to get home. Dad helpfully built me a split-level treehouse spanning 4 spindly trees to get me off the ground and keep me closer to our own property. I spent hours there, watching and occasionally drawing the birds. I began to treasure certain personality traits in the birds and figuring out my favorites. As a kid, most of my favorites had some bright color. I loved watching the little ones, though, like titmice and chickadees, who would dash right in where larger birds feared to tread. As I've gotten older, I treasure bird calls and songs even more than seeing them because I can still be connected to the birds in that way while working on other things. Some songs are more treasured than others. I'm not a huge fan of starlings. My favorite here is the song sparrow, who finds his high perch, declaring the world is wonderful and that this little piece of it is his. Thank you very much. Do you have something in nature that brings you that kind of joy? Something you cherish and look forward to, if not daily, at least weekly? Do you remember the first time you set up a bird bath and a bird actually used it? Or when the milkweed you finally got to grow was visited by an actual monarch butterfly and started getting gobbled up by the caterpillars? How did that make you feel? Were you giddy? Excited? Scared you would run out of milkweed? This summer, the bird songs were disrupted. News of some new disease that was decimating songbirds came in from all along the East Coast, and birders were told to take down their feeders and to stop the spread, or to try to stop the spread of whatever was doing the damage. And this was sad. And I took down the big feeder and went on about my work. So how do we get to a place where the loss of songbirds is more than a sadness? How do we get to a place where the desire to connect with those other species becomes a real spiritual need? Our 7th principle asks us to be in relationship with everything. Respect for the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part. Respect may not be the right word, frankly. Thou shalt respect the copperhead, just as your child. Thou shalt respect the spiders that bedeck your home. Thou shalt respect the dung beetles and the other bugs that clean up behind your dog. Thou shalt respect that every living thing needs a home and something to eat. And frankly, respect is another intellectual, separated word describing a separated state. And we are only separated from other life on earth in our own heads. So while it is well-intentioned, I'm not sure the 7th principle is a great motivator. When I was first thinking about talking to you today, it was an immediate response to the catastrophic impacts we are seeing on the news. The fires, especially the fires, the flooding, the disease. And it's really hard. We can't airlift enough water to put out those fires. We really can't build a big enough barrier to hold back the hurricanes. And so it's easy to imagine that there's really nothing good we can do, so we may as well go on with our lives and just enjoy it while we can. At least that's the kind of thoughts I have had. This is a part of my own spiritual battle where I can get discouraged and depressed about how little an impact I can really have, to the extent that I stop trying. And my work is to pick myself back up and get back at it. Our opening words today from Edward O. Wilson's book, The Creation, has a subtitle. an appeal to save life on Earth. The book was published in 2006. It is framed in the voice of a man who grew up in the Baptist faith, later became a biologist, and is speaking to a Southern Baptist pastor. He mentions the root of his previous faith's planet-destroying tendencies, the fact that Earth is just a way station. As he puts it, to a second eternal life. After all, if you're saved, then you don't need to worry about these things. Basically, anything you do here doesn't matter, so go ahead and do with it as you will. The Unitarian Universalist Covenant rejects that point of view, of course, but just saying it isn't so doesn't exactly make it not so. The basis of life is insects. There are roughly 200 million of them for every one of us. Without insects, we would lose most reptiles and amphibians and half of all the bird species. Insects pollinate at least a third of the total volume of crops cultivated worldwide, and they eat all the poo left by any creature that doesn't have indoor plumbing. And they clean up the dead. Things die in poo daily, you may have noticed. We'd be in a big mess pretty quickly. As it happens, we're making good progress on getting ourselves into that mess. 16 studies have confirmed that insect populations have declined by 45% in the last 4 decades. Now, all is not lost, because if there's something we can all have an impact on in this life, it is insects. An acre of diverse habitat can have as many as 400 million insects. UUTC's campus is roughly an acre and a half. We have the potential to house 600 million insects. Wow, isn't that exciting? Well, I think it's kind of exciting. That's bird food, baby. I know some of you have creepy crawlies just thinking about this. But a 2010 study by Canadian biologists suggests that North American bird species that depend on aerial insects for feeding themselves and their offspring have suffered much more pronounced declines than other perching birds that largely feed on seeds. This year, after the record-breaking songbird deaths on the eastern coast, when scientists were looking to see what pathogen was killing the birds and warned all of us birders to take down our feeders, the verdict was now malnutrition. Our songbirds are starving to death. Today, this year, right now. We cannot wait to let the next generation fix this. So again, how do we get past respect? Because clearly that's not getting the job done. Diversity of birds and bugs requires a diversity of plants. And they need to be plants that don't suppress our native plant species. We need plants that will end up with holes in their leaves because some larva ate that plant and then got grabbed up by a songbird and then was shoved into the mouth of that baby bird. Lots of bugs eat only certain plants. We all understand this. So what makes us choose to use pesticides, to plant things that won't support insects, to have expanses of lawn that we maintain to perfection with more pesticides, fungicides, and herbicides? That's a lot of killing in one sentence. I think we need to get to the why. Why does a perfect lawn matter? Why do we have to make our yards look good? Homeowners have plenty of control over their use of lighting, their grounds, whether they use a gas lawnmower, don't get me started on that, whether they use chemical controls, whether they have some type of water feature, whether they remove invasive species. We have control over all those things. All these things that have big impacts on insect life and on climate change. Why then would we choose intentionally to meet some societal definition of a beautiful yard at the expense of beautiful creatures? At the expense of beautiful creatures. I'm going to this morning ask you to humor me with a very small exercise. You will need a partner in this exercise, and those of you who arrived with one may have to have the courage to partner with somebody else for this exercise. I want to make sure everybody's looking at somebody. You don't have to get close enough to hug. You need to find that other person right now. They just have to be close enough for you to be able to look in their eyes for a moment for this exercise. Figure it out. Who are you going to look at? Who are you going to... Yeah, it's really better if it's not your partner. I've got time here. Y'all get this squared away. I see an odd number over here. John, get over there and help out. You got one of them? Okay. All right, we got that person. Look them in the eyes. Look hard. In your head, don't say it out loud, in your head, looking at and considering the well-being of that person, say, I love you. Say it again in your head while looking at that person. Thank you. You can stare at your hands in your lap now. How did that make you feel? Did you for a moment feel more vulnerable? Did you feel a connection? We were built to make connections. We were given hearts and ears and eyes and hands to reach out and make connections. We were given laughter and tears and, yes, even raucous behavior at sporting events. And yet, most of the time, we hide ourselves to keep safe from being hurt. And this self-enforced isolation is what makes us self-absorbed and unable to enjoy the birds we cease to hear. There have been several teachers through the ages that have urged us to love one another. Isn't it the pursuit of love, even more than respect, the reason behind the clothes we wear, the way we decorate our homes, the reason we seek partners? We all need love. Every living being needs it, even plants and animals. Many people have witnessed or even videoed a surviving bird trying to save or stand guard over its dead partner. This happens with mammals all the time. But we don't usually credit other species or creatures with these emotions. Science has progressed to the point where we know that even corn and trees communicate with each other and look out for each other's welfare. This is built into our DNA, same as theirs. But we keep trying to raise ourselves above ourselves to some safe perch. There isn't one, folks. We're all we have collectively, all life on earth. If we make a commitment to improve the lives of insects and birds in our yards, what would that feel like? Would it feel like respect? If we began to notice the fruits of our labors through bird song or birds nesting or birds cussing each other out, would it make us feel respectful? Or might it be something richer, more enriching? More like the feeling of looking in another's eyes and whispering, I love you. More like cherishing. To have and to hold, in sickness and in health, to love and to cherish till death do us part. Let's build a seventh principle that reads, cherishing the interdependent web of all existence, of which we are a part, and see how that feels. Thank you. Our closing words will be on the screen momentarily. I think that's what's happening next. Is that what's happening next, guys? Yeah, there it is, okay. It's number 550, we belong to the earth. You may read along. This we know, the earth does not belong to us. We belong to the earth. This we know, all things are connected like the blood which unites one family. All things are connected. Whatever befalls the earth befalls the sons and daughters of the earth. We did not weave the web of life. We are merely a strand in it. Whatever we do to the web, we do to ourselves. Words are attributed to Chief Noah Self. All right, before our closing hymn, no, I'll do that later. We're going to have our closing hymn now, Blue Boat Home. As I extinguish the chalice this morning, I just have one final note for you. 2021, Wildflower of the Year is American Beautyberry. It's a shrub, grows in sun or light shade. Birds love it. maybe you should plant one this year. Thank you for being here.